The most famous violinists are not more talented than you. They only practiced differently. After playing the violin for more than 30 years and studying over 800 books, I found out exactly how the best violinists worldwide mastered the violin. And today I'm gonna show you step by step how you could skyrocket your progress by practicing like the best violinist in the world. Starting with rule number 1, stop wasting your time with pieces. A lot of methods focus on playing pieces that are at first very easy and then become always more difficult. But actually, if you study how the best violinists in the world learned the violin, it's not what they did. More than 50% of the time, they practice step-by-step technical exercises to master the basics of the violin. To be more exact, you should have 4 main practice blocks. The first one will be the bow mastery. That's where you learn to have a beautiful sound with the bow by practicing the bow on open strings. Then the second one is left hand mastery. With specific exercises, you will develop your left hand so that you are able to play every note systematically the right way. Block C will be piece mastery, how to master every piece step by step. And block D, artistry mastery, is where you learn to play like a professional, really like a great musician. And now let us see exactly how to practice those blocks, starting with rule number 2, practice scales the right way. Here, a big mistake I see most students do is focusing on quality versus quantity. What you should do is focus on only one variation for 15 minutes instead of trying to play every possible variation one after another without really practicing them. The second problem I see a lot of people do is that they will practice only scales, but scales are really only one part of what you should be doing. For example, with our students in the Violinacademy, we introduce 1 octave exercises in level 3 week 1. What it means is that those exercises are only on 1 octave, and we have here not only the common scale that you can see there, but a scale of thirds too, that you see here, and some different arpeggios that you can see here. And today we will focus on learning to play arpeggio because they are actually way more important than common scales. Here the next mistakes most people do is that they will just take one exercise and repeat it again and again and over again. But that's not the right way to do it. The first thing you should always do is just to calibrate every single note. What I mean with calibrating is that you should tune every single note to be sure that you are playing the right notes. Because if you are not, you are gonna automate the wrong things. So let's learn together this first arpeggio. It's a D major arpeggio, and we have 4 notes. The D open string, an F sharp, an A open string, and a D third finger. Before I start practicing that, I want to make sure that first my open strings are right, so I want to tune my violin, but then I really want to calibrate the F sharp and the D. For the D, it's very easy. I will just compare it with my D open string. Or I could try listening to the resonance. That's very important. That means I play the note, then I leave the bow, and I listen to how long the note continue resonating. 2, 3. If it's wrong, the note will go down. Okay, it will not continue sounding. But when right, it stays very long. For my F sharp, I will first calibrate my G, because it's easy to calibrate with the same method. And then I will put my F sharp next to it, because I know it's a half tone. So the both fingers are next to another. After I'm finished with calibrating, I will start automating. So basically, you want to play those exercises first in half note, then in quarter note, and then in eighth note. And if you're more advanced, it could be in 16th note too. That means first like that. and so on, and then in quarter note, and then only in eighth note. And here too, the biggest mistake I see most people do is that they will practice mostly in eighth note because it's where they have difficulties. But actually, you should spend most time on the slowest version of the exercise and play in eighth note only 1 minute or so at the end. And if you are an adult beginner and you really want to learn to play the violin beautifully, we are organizing a free violin masterclass. You will find the link under this video. Then, rule number 3, you need to use a step-by-step plan. That's probably the biggest mistake I see most people do. And that's really what differentiates the greatest players and how most people are learning the violin. I made a lot of research reading hundreds of books and can really assure you that every single famous violinist learned the violin really on a very extreme step-by-step way. So let me share with you the exact step-by-step plan we use with our students at the Violinacademy so that you can start doing the same. The first thing you want to do is really to master the bow. You should really have first a beautiful sound before you start with the left hand. We started, for example, only at week 5. And then when our students start with the left hand, they do only the D string, doing only very simple exercise like only the E in half note, quarter note and eighth note, then E, F sharp, or D, E, F sharp, E, and so on. Here you can see all the combination they do. And at this stage, as a beginner, I would really advise you to have some recording of your teacher playing those exercises so that you can compare them with what you are playing. And then, a few weeks later, you start with the third finger, and a few weeks later with the fourth finger with similar exercises. Here was for the fourth finger, for example. Like you can see, it's just all the different combination on the D string. At the same time, you should play only pieces that go with this plan. For example, by week 13, they learn Ode to Joy because it's only on the D string with the same left hand pattern. Then, level 2, they start learning the other string. First the A string, then later on the G string, and then the E string. Here they do very similar exercises. Those are for the G string, for example, with the third finger pattern. And at the end of level 2, they start practicing string crossing, and especially those for the fourth finger. Then at level 3, they start the 1 octave exercises that we already seen in every major tonality. The next big change is at level 5, when they start practicing Etude from Wolfart at the same time. This is, for example, the first one, and in a few minutes we'll see exactly how to practice that and how to practice open strings. Then, starting level 6, we do exercises on the complete first position. Here, the goal is to play all the fingers on every strings. That means you have the common scale like here, but from G till the fourth finger on the E string. Then the scale of thirds, then 4 different arpeggios, like you can see here, and on top of that, a chromatic scale. And then every 4 weeks, we switch the tonality. But let us first see rule number 4, practice the bow like a pro. For your first year, you should focus mainly on open strings variations and then only on Etude instead. For both of them, the principles are the same. You want to practice different variations. So let us see that for open strings. You will choose one string and one basic rhythm, for example, quarter note. And then, very important is that you want to define a tempo. You don't want to just play one note, okay? You want to have a fixed tempo with a specific rhythm. Then you will decide on which part of the bow you will practice that. For example, it could be in the first quarter of the bow, or the second half, or the whole bow, but you need to decide. And then you will choose a dynamic. Do you want to practice very softly, for example, here in the third quarter of the bow, or playing very loudly? And after you choose a variation, You will practice it for a few minutes before you change one element of it to practice the next one. This is, for example, for the Wolfart Etude 31 in third position, different variation that we give our students. And by the way, it's in German because until shortly we were teaching only German students, and now we start teaching in English too. And like you can see, you have rhythm variations, then you have bowing variations with different slurs and combination of détaché and slurs. Then you have dynamic variations, pianissimo, fortissimo, crescendo, decrescendo, and then some bowing variation like martelé, spiccato, and so on. But with each variation, the most important thing is rule number 5, to start with the right basics. What it means is that when you practice, you are automating movements. But if you are not doing the right movements, you are just building wrong automation. I see that a lot. And then the only solution is to start again from the beginning, learning with the right basics. Because if you're not doing the right movements or having the right posture, it will be very difficult to play the right notes systematically, or to have a beautiful sound, or to learn other positions later on, or to play with vibrato. So the first thing is that you want to have the best possible bow grip. Here too, I studied this a lot. I know like how exactly every violinist holds his bow. I know the history of the bow grip for the last 300 years, basically. And what we see really today is that every major violinist uses a Franco-Belgian bow grip. And basically that's works like that. You put the thumb here, and you make a circle with your second finger. Then your ring finger will come here. A mistake that I see a lot of students do is that they will hold the bow like that. Go lower, here. It's way more stable. Other mistake I see a lot is that a lot will hold the bow here or a little bit higher. Here it's the best place. Then you put the forefinger here. Here, very important, it should stay rounded. And then here, something very important that differentiates the different bow holding, like the German one that was like that, or the Russian one that was like this. It's that in the Franco-Belgian bow grip, you put the index finger here on this part. That means not here, but here. And it looks like that. Then the next point is that you need to have the right left hand position. A big problem I see a lot of people do is that their hand is way too open. And then they need to play the forefinger, then they need to move the whole arm or hand to play it. You want to keep all forefinger above the string like that, and then move only the finger when playing on one string. Then you want, when possible, to let the finger down on the string. Don't lift your finger the whole time. Then move your elbow on each string, so that you can keep the same position on each string without moving the hand or the wrist. I do that only with the elbow. So don't forget, the best violinists worldwide are not more talented than you, they just practice differently.